His name is Maciek. He told me that this is the right pronunciation. Oh, okay.
And I have the microphone already.
Hey, he has
Great
the microphone.
success.
So he is a security community manager.
Yeah.
Am I right? Okay. With a PHP background.
With a PHP background
And also
I
host.
would even say with the WordPress background. I know that can be scary for some of people. I know. But it's not that bad, really.
He's also host of the Coffee and Code show. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So, you think your time? It's your time?
I think it's my time. Yeah.
Okay. So, round of applause.
So look, I have a very interesting story to share. Last year, we managed to remove 1,000 plugins from the official WordPress repository during 1 month. That's quite a lot, right? I'm sure that there are many frameworks that don't even have 1,000 additional assets, add-ons, or whatever. And WordPress had 1,000 vulnerable inside of their official repository. So this will be the story of how we did it, how it even happened, what were the consequences, and what you can learn from this. Because WordPress made some things bad, but I hope that all of you will learn and correct those mistakes in your project. So let's go. As already mentioned, I work at PatchStack as a security community manager. And finally, I will have a chance during this talk to explain what the security community manager does, because it's quite complicated, really. So, I will start with an unpopular opinion. I know that a second ago I said that we closed 1,000 plugins, but I still think that WordPress is very secure, seriously. We are talking about the CMS that powers over 40% of the internet. No other CMS is even near. I think that Shopify has around 6 or 7% of the market. So the difference in terms of the market share is huge. So this also means that every hacker's dream is to find a vulnerability inside of WordPress. But they aren't finding them, because last year, for example, we only found 7 vulnerabilities inside of WordPress core, and none of them were severe. Year earlier, also 6 or 7. And again, none of these were severe vulnerability. So I can really say WordPress is the safest open source CMS out there. But there is a small catch. You can't use any plugins. Which is kind of the thing why most of us install WordPress, because it has this great and enormous ecosystem. And if we look at the numbers, we'll see that 96% of the vulnerabilities found in 2024 were caused by plugins. To be exact, 7,633 vulnerabilities were found in WordPress plugins. To compare, only 7 in core and only 346 inside of themes. So yeah, plugins are the biggest problem. This is also another interesting set of numbers. We can see that year after year in WordPress we are discovering more and more vulnerabilities. But that's a good thing, because it means that more companies are investing in WordPress security. We are able to detect more of those vulnerabilities, because it's not only us as PatchStack. There is also WordFence, there is also WP Scan, and altogether we will manage to find this almost 8,000 vulnerabilities this year, compared to only 4,000 in 2022. So the amount of vulnerabilities is growing. We can also see that we are finding more and more critical vulnerabilities. But that's a good thing, because if we can find them, developers can fix them. At least most of them, because 33% of vulnerabilities never get fixed, so that's kind of a problem. But most of it is. And let's remember, we have to know what the WordPress ecosystem is in general, because the core is just one part, and we already said that this is the safe one. The themes and plugins, those are the most vulnerable parts. And there's also the meta part that takes care of all the systems around WordPress, and it's relatively safe. I mentioned that we found them in the official repository. So I think I will start with what even is the official repository. So this is this very beautiful website where you can download all the plugins and themes, but also you will find it inside of every of your WordPress installation. Every time when you log in into your WP admin, go to add the plugin, add the theme, you will see a list from where you can install a third-party component with a one click. So it's very easy, it's very simple to use. It's much simpler to use than using any other marketplace or any other source of those components. That's why the official repository is the default choice when we are adding new components to WordPress. And right now it holds over 60,000 plugins. Quite a lot, right? But remember this number because there is a small catch about this. Everything there has to be open source and has to be free. That's why there is also a lot of those freemium plugins that are only only a part of their functionality is for free, and for us you will have to pay, but outside of the official repository. The official repository not only takes care of, it's not only a place from which you download the things, it's also the place that helps you update them, or sometimes even auto-update, because WordPress has this feature of auto-updating plugins and themes. And it's a public place, so after going through an initial review of your code, it will be published. But the problem is that this review happens only once. So if your initial version is secure, that's great. But if you will add, because of your mistake, a vulnerability inside of your update, this won't ever be reviewed, at least not by the official WordPress team. That's why all the, let's call it third-party researchers like PatchStack, like WP-Scan, like WordPress are so important. At PatchStack, we run this regular bug bounty every month. It's very simple. Hackers report vulnerabilities. They get experience points for it. Based on the experience points, they take some place in the leaderboard, and they are awarded with money. And next month, they will do the same and the same and the same. It's pretty simple. Of course, if you know how to find vulnerabilities, because I can't. It's not that easy, you know? Back then, our bug bounty had two very important limitations. First of all, we only accepted reports for plugins or themes that had at least 1,000 installs. And also, they had to be updated during the last 3 years. And do you know how old is WordPress? Guess, how old it is? 25. I have a t-shirt when we celebrated 50 years. Yes, WordPress is that also. 3 years compared to this, it's nothing. I mean, one of the popularest plugins, Yoast SEO, is 15 years old. But probably Hello Dolly has 25 years at least. So these were huge limitations. In October, because October is a cybersecurity month, and we decided, yeah, let's launch a special event. Let's make it fun. So we decided to remove those limitations. We treated low install plugins as ones that would have 1,000 installs. We removed the limitation of 3 years since last update. But there was an exception that the vulnerability had to have a score of 6.5 or bigger. So we were sure that those reports aren't kind of trashy. And, well, that's how the biggest bug bounty started, with removing of 2 rules. So on 1st of October, we started. I announced it on our Discord, and this is one of the things that I do. I announce things on Discord. Honestly, we didn't think that it would be something huge. We thought that, yeah, we will remove some old plugins from the repository, but that's it. On the 4th of October, we already got 90 reports, but we still didn't think anything huge will happen because some researchers are playing it more strategically. So if they know that during the previous month they won't advance much by reporting something, they leave some of the reports for the next month to have a head start. So the fact that we have 90 reports was okay. Probably nothing huge will happen. In the background, the whole Matt Mullenweg versus WP Engine debacle started, and we were a bit afraid that some researchers will be distracted by it. Also, we were kind of distracted by it because it was pure chaos. It still is. On 7th October, we saw that the amount of submission kind of plateaued, so we only get 123. So we were like, yeah, probably we will end up with around 500. And back then, our record for 1 month was more than 600 reports. So a week later, we saw that the amount of reports is growing. And at this point, we were almost certain that we will beat our previous record of this 632, if I remember. But the most important thing happened on 16th of October. Many researchers started saying on our Discord, yeah, we finally downloaded all the plugins that had from 1 to 999 installs. Why it's important? First of all, because of the previous rules, most of our researchers only worked with this part of the repository that was important from them, so with 100 installs plus. On the other hand, if you take part in such an event, you don't analyze one plugin after another. You look for patterns. In short, you are regexping on gigabytes of files. You just look for patterns. And remember when I told you that the official repository consists of 60,000 plugins? Guess how many has less than 1,000 installs? I was surprised. I thought you were right because we started it with 50, but not percent, 50,000. 5/6 of WordPress repository consists of plugins that, compared to WordPress scale, no one almost uses. And also interesting fun fact, it weighs 72 gigabytes. So yeah, people were regexping on 62 gigabytes of data. It was really cool. I'm sure they had a lot of fun. And we started seeing amount of reports growing. This was the first moment when our triage team started to have a bit of a problem with keeping up with triaging the stuff. But we decided to spice things up because, well, why not? So we added a new rule. If all of you discover 1,000 vulnerabilities, we'll pay extra $100 to everyone who submitted at least 10 reports. Because why not? Our triage team was already tired, so if they are already tired, it won't get any better, right? And then this is my second role as a security community manager. I'm a cheerleader on Discord. So I was cheering them up. Hey guys, it's only 31 reports per day. Go for it. You can do it. You'll make it. And at some point we were at something like this. Really, we posted on Twitter, hey guys, we have 600 reports. Then I press refresh, 679, and I'm, oh God. If we had at least a premium account, we could update the number, but we didn't. We had a free base. So yeah, it was getting really difficult to manage all of it. On 25th of October, we hit it, 1,000 valid reports. And a lot in the backlog, because like I said, our triage team, they were really tired. So on 29th, we started to joke around because we have 1,240 valid reports. So what is the funny number next? 100, 337, right? It was a joke. We thought it's a joke. In the meantime, On the 31st of October, some people started to realize that plugins are getting missing from the official repository. People thought that this is somehow connected with this whole Matt Mullenweg versus WP Engine thing happening. But no, it wasn't. It was just us and researchers. Also, it's not only we had a lot of work, not only our triage team, our researchers, but also the WordPress review teams. Because every time when we weren't able to contact the creator of a plugin, we had to reach out to the WordPress review team. So you can imagine that for almost a month, someone who managed the review email, when he woke up, opened their email, he just saw Darius from PatchStack, because Darius took care of it. He sent over 1,000 emails to them. We are really happy that they didn't block us, because we were really afraid that at some point they will say, we don't want to take care with PatchStack anymore. We're tired. No one pays us for this. On 4th of November, there were still 4 reports to get reviewed. And you can see that Stealthcopter was leading by 1 point. But on the 5th, the final results were in. 1,570 valid reports. And Keynerds won by 2 experience points. It's on the last stretch during those 4 last reports. But honestly, I'm also really amazed what the guy, the Sopro Bro on the 3rd place did. Because if you can see, he submitted 534 reports. 1/3 of everything was submitted by one guy. I mean, that's crazy. Tell me, how many of you ever found 500 vulnerabilities inside of your entire career? And this guy did it in a month. Next month, he didn't want to report anything. He was tired. Keynote even mentioned that the last 24 hours, he just wasn't sleeping. He was just reporting stuff. Because, you know, finding a vulnerability is one place, writing a report is another thing. And what's interesting, AI is quite useful for writing reports. So it's over. Quite an event, right? We found vulnerabilities in 1,536 plugins and 35 themes. More than 1,162, we had to report it to the WordPress review team, which almost means, and that's the sad part, that those plugins were abandoned because there were no one on the other side to respond to this. And now you can divide this amount by 30 days and see how much emails they got every day, and sometimes there was also a reply and something pure fun. 270 reports had a CVSS score of 8+. So we really did find a lot of dangerous stuff inside. And in the end, we were happy to pay $17,000 to all the researchers. So it turned out that some of the researchers, after being pinged by the WordPress review team, fixed their plugins. So in the end, only 946 plugins got removed permanently from the repository. And that's good, right? But there is a catch, and a sad one. WordPress has a great mechanism of informing you that there is an update for a plugin. But it doesn't have a mechanism informing you that the plugin got closed, or let me be more specific, that the plugin was closed because of security reasons, it's dangerous, you should remove it. And probably I should add a few swear words too to make it more, but it's recorded and I don't want YouTube to block you. We decided to change our rules a bit to make sure that every plugin, even those with lower install counts, will have a chance to get reviewed, because that's important. The fact that we found that many plugins in 1 month was also a consequence of the fact that all of the bounty programs in WordPress ecosystem kind of omitted those small and old ones. So we decided to change it because, there's a lot of them. And there are two absolute favorites that we found during this bug hunt that were absolutely wow. You'll see. If you added ID equals 1 to the URL, you would get logged in as the person who has an ID number 1. Of course, if you would go with 2, 3, 4, at some point you would probably find this account. What's interesting, we didn't found one occurrence of this. We found 5 of them by different authors. And another one, more advanced, there was a registration endpoint. And if the user already existed, you got logged in as this user instead of... I knew that you would like it. I thought that you should, write this username is taken. But they did a bit different approach. So Stylecoder had quite a lot of luck with finding those ones. Pure magic. Also, a month later, WordFans did a similar event. They got 700 reports. They didn't share how many of those got closed or anything more. But even if we assume that, let's say, additional 100 plugins got closed, that's amazing. It would mean that during 2 months, we remove really more than 1,000 plugins from the repository, vulnerable plugins. That's great. And I would like to ask you for a really short round of applause for those guys because they did a really tremendous job. Some of them didn't sleep for a lot of time. But yeah, they did it. Also, huge thanks for WordPress review teams because, it was difficult for them too. Also for our triage team, for Darius, for Rafi, for Ananda, Kurshat, Chas, and Edward. I really can't imagine how difficult it was for them. Like I said, I was just a cheerleader on Discord, so I was just, hey, report more, we'll do it. And they were doing it. So to sum up, WordPress got safer, like ever before, so that's cool. But like I mentioned, the fact that we don't have notification, that's horrible. And you know what is funny? We have an API. We have an API for this. We do. It works. But it's still not implemented. And with all those changes, things happening right now in the WordPress ecosystem, because there was a project to introduce it inside of core, but probably it won't happen for at least a year. Well, it's not that important, it seems. Another thing that I think it's quite sad that the security researcher work isn't seen as WordPress contribution. Because those are hackers, they are destroying stuff, right? Or they are even giving WordPress a bad name. And sadly, that's the thing. I do think that security researcher work should be considered equal as any other work that happens in the ecosystem. All of us work together to make this CMS working. Better or worse, but yeah, they are a very important part of it. Yeah, we need a better review mechanism, right? Because the thing that we have currently with just the initial review, it's bad. The truth is that most of reviewing is on the hands of third-party companies like PatchStack, like WordFans, and like WPScan. The truth is that in most ecosystems, the creators of the plugins should take care of bounty programs, not third-party companies. But we are doing it the WordPress way, a bit different. And while WordPress security and review teams are amazing, they are doing a lot of great, amazing work, the truth is they are too small and they are underfunded because those are volunteers. And this means that they can only do reactive work. For example, during this month, they had really a lot of work by managing, closing, and contacting with the authors about those reports we got. But that's only reactive work. The truth is, it should happen different way. WordPress should work in a more proactive way, but without any changes, this won't happen. So, it's time for your questions.
Round of applause for this amazing story. Thank you for sharing.
They asked me to come ask questions. Any questions from the crowd before we get started? Honestly, thank you for this, and not just the talk, the actual getting this done is incredible.
Like I
work.
said, I was just cheerleading.
Yeah.
and, you know, I was cheerleading, and now I'm just going from conference to conference, and I say, look, we did it.
So has anyone here participated in a bug bounty before?
Yeah, I have a question here.
Oh, excellent.
In a previous slide, you showed that even 35 themes were with some vulnerabilities. Am I right?
Yeah.
I don't know much about plugins, but my question is, how come a theme that I'm expecting to be static content to actually have vulnerabilities? I don't know anything about that one. So how come?
So in short, theme can have functionality too. Themes aren't static.
Okay.
So you can put any PHP code inside of it. And if you can put any PHP content inside of it, this means you can put any vulnerability inside of it, and they do it. For example, very often they forget to sanitize stuff. So that's one of the most. I mean, cross-site scripting is the plague of WordPress. We see it, I think during this bug bounty we had 60% of the reports were related to cross-site scripting.
Okay, I gotcha. Thank you very much.
Any other questions on here? I've got two questions for you, actually. I found this really interesting. So around bug bounties, it's always extremely competitive, and I really liked adding the element of making it slightly cooperative, monetized cooperation. But what would you do to sort of improve that aspect of getting them to work together towards at least the goal of a number?
This is kind of the thing that we realized around a year ago, that this is a good idea, because that's the biggest problem with bug bounties. In a way, it's hard to make people help others because you are creating a competition for yourself. That's why, for us, it was so important to start with building a community. Our Discord server we're doing a lot to make it as active as possible. We see a lot of experienced researchers helping the ones who are just starting. So in general, the idea of putting that much work inside of the community, I mean, that's why kind of they hired me. Because we knew that the community around this is very important. And if we look what Perslack in general is doing, we need to have those vulnerabilities so we can then provide our clients with information that, hey, there is a vulnerability inside of one of the plugins that you are using. And we can be the fastest ones because we will get those reports directly. Okay, we pay for those because that's kind of the weird thing of those WordPress bug bounties. We, WordFans, WP Scan, we pay for other plugin authors. So there are only 2 or 3 companies that pay for bug bounties out of their own pocket. Weird system, right?
Yeah, we can do security better. So I think, WordPress, Kubernetes, very, very different communities, but we've run bug bashes over CNCF for a couple of years. We've actually switched the model now to security slams, and if you're going to be at KubeCon EU, like next week or so, go check that out. where we're actually shifting to do like proactive security awareness. Do you think that's something that you would put in place here, or something that you might do for WordPress?
The problem is, problem with WordPress is that it's easier to start with. And the problem, why is a problem? It sounds like a good thing. But this means that we have a whole big range of types of developers that are creating those plugins. So we have some group of very experienced developers or companies who take security very seriously. And they are already on the proactive path.
Yeah.
Every time we talk with guys from WP Engine, when we talk with guys from Elementor, they are really taking it so seriously. It's amazing. On the other hand, right now with the whole vibe coding, yes, we will see a lot of plugins with vulnerabilities. And when we'll ask authors, hey, fix it, we will probably get a response, yeah, but Cursor says it's okay. Oh yeah, sorry. You're right. Of course, Cursor is right. So yeah, and with those people, it will be hard to talk about any proactiveness if they don't entirely know what they are doing.
Yeah.
And of course, most of it is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of companies that, even if they make mistakes, they learn from it. We had so many plugins when we saw how they change over the years, from ones that, yeah, we had a lot of vulnerabilities, to one that, okay, now it's nothing happening. But also, we have people who think that security researchers are the enemies. So that's a problem. And that's why I was saying that it would be very important for having them seen as equal contributors. Because right now, they're seen, as hackers. Those bad hackers in hoodies with green lights in the background, things like this, right? And they are not. It's something totally different. That's also why we're trying more to use the term security researcher. Because did you ever saw a bad security researcher on the TV show? But there was a lot of bad hackers, right?
Yeah, that's true. White hat, black hat.
A small thing, but it also adds up, especially when we look at the amount of people who don't have that much experience. So it's really important. Every word matters.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maciek. Now it's time for the trophy.
My second one. I will have 2 of them at my home.
More than DiCaprio.